Bill Paxton.
I lost a little weight. You know, I got that clip they just showed.
Yeah.
It blows.
Why? Why?
It's terrible. This movie is wall-to-wall action.
Why did you bring that clip, man?
I didn't bring it. God, I didn't bring it.
Paxton, that's
Same
all
lousy clip they showed last night.
All we were talking about is Paxton brings this lame clip. You know?
I hear you. I hear you. I mean, you don't see that in the preview. Me talking. I mean, God.
American actor Bill Paxton, who rose to stardom with roles in Hollywood blockbusters such as Aliens and Titanic, has died. He was 61. His family issued a statement saying the actor died after complications from surgery.
I think I've always been a filmmaker at heart.
Paxton, who appeared in dozens of films over some 4 decades, recently starred in the HBO TV series Big Love. He won a Screen Actors Guild Award for his role in Apollo 13.
It was a pretty full-on experience.
And was nominated for 3 Golden Globe Awards for his work in Big Love and the 1990 miniseries A Bright Shining Lie. Paxton leaves behind his wife and 2 children.
What? Doug, come on.
Following breaking news right now, the family of actor Bill Paxton confirms he died due to complications from surgery. He was just 61 years old. Earlier this month, Paxton paid a visit to our studios to talk about his new CBS series, Training Day. His career spanned several decades. He's known for roles in Titanic, Apollo 13, and Aliens.
Well, in November of 1963, I was 8.5 years old. I remember staying up late on the Thursday night, the 21st, and looking with my brother's telescope down. We lived off of Indian Creek Drive, and we could see cars well. And I remember with my brother's telescope, we could see the presidential seal. And my dad said, "Get in the car. Come on, we're going to go see the motorcade go by." And I said, "Well, we're not dressed." It was about after 11 o'clock. And he said, "That's okay, just grab a robe and jump in the car." We jumped in my dad's Oldsmobile and we drove down to where Westover Road comes out of Roaring Springs Road. And we sat there and we saw the whole motorcade go by. Well, the next morning, my brother Bob, who's the reason I was even there, he was 11, he woke my dad up and said, "You promised to take us to see President Kennedy." And he said, and my dad looked out the window, saw it was kind of a drizzly morning, and thought, God, he's going to have these 2 boys in a crowd. He liked Kennedy, but he thought it might be a bit of a hassle. And my brother used the 2 words you never want to, you promised. So he said, "Get your brother dressed," and we drove down. It was about a 10-minute drive down, and we parked, I'd say about 6 blocks away. And we walked in, and we became part of a crowd of about 4,000 to 5,000 people. We were probably standing around the crowd for about 20 minutes when here comes President Kennedy with Johnson and Connally and Jim Wright and Senator Yarborough, and they got up on what was I didn't know it at the time, it was a flatbed truck they'd put bunting on, and the presidential seal there and the lectern. And it was amazing to see President Kennedy because, God, I had mostly seen him on television in black and white, and there he was in living color, and I couldn't believe how red his hair was. A Navy suit on, and he seemed in very good spirits. He made a joke about his wife, Jackie, not being there, but of course she took a little longer to get ready in the morning, but she looked a lot better. And it was I remember just a real euphoric crowd. I was a bit young to really understand later the consequences of the event. I couldn't believe he had been killed. I came in off the recess playground. I was going to St. Alice, Catholic school off of Camp Bowie. And I remember the nuns were all crying, and they told us to put our heads down on the desks. And,
you like directing?
I love it, yeah. I was consumed by this whole project.
As much as acting?
Oh, easily.
Because you control it?
No, I think my heroes as a boy were guys like Buster Keaton, and then as I was growing up, I was a huge fan of Clint Eastwood's. I've never really gotten to know Clint. I've met him a couple times, but he has no idea what a mentor he's been to me. from his early films with Sergio Leone, and then I like him. I started out with a horror film. His first film was Play Misty for me.
Sure
Mine was Frailty. He did a lot of interesting films back in the day, and he's still doing great movies. I love $1 Million Babies, and so in a way, I've kind of modeled myself as a filmmaker, actor. That was always my dream, to make films.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? We're some real pretty shit now, man.
You finished?
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
2 weeks ago in Cape Town, which was my first time to South Africa, which was fascinating.
What's the movie now called, and who do you play?
It's called Game Changer. I play Jack Thompson, who's a Miami-based attorney who back in 2005 took Sony PlayStation and Rockstar Games, the makers of Grand Theft Auto, into a big civil suit around a young man named Devin Moore, who in Alabama had been arrested and ended up in a police station grabbing one of the policemen's gun. He killed 3 police officers. He's on death row now. And the character I play, Jack Thompson, he went to the families and he said, you know, I think maybe you can't prove that the video game got him to a place that he committed this act. It's a little hard to cause causation, but he felt that, look, I can't bring your loved ones back, but I think that the people that make the machines and the people that make these games are partly responsible. And so he talks them into going along on the civil suit, which he files, and it becomes kind of these 2 characters. Sam Hauser's played by who started Rockstar Games, who made Grand Theft Auto, who still make it.
Daniel Radcliffe?
Daniel Radcliffe, and they end up on this kind of collision course. It's an interesting piece because it's pretty
Ridiculous. I mean, ass like a 10-year-old boy.
Got some great salty old
My
lines.
dad was a traveling salesman for many years, and he would come home and he would come up with these different expressions. You know, a lot of times on the movies you're shooting, you know, the writer's written a line, but it's pretty cliched, and you want to find a different way to say it. When I was doing True Lies, for example, I'm doing the scene where I'm driving the Corvette and I'm trying to sell Arnold the Corvette, and I was supposed to be talking about Jamie Lee Curtis. I was supposed to be talking about her breast, and I don't know that this is her husband I'm talking to.
Right.
And so Jim Cameron said, well, come up with something here. And I remembered a line my dad used to say, so I said, what if I say, her breasts make me want to stand up and bawl for buttermilk? And
you ever use this on the ladies, my friend?
Yeah, well, that kid was perfect.
How's that go over in a bar? Yeah. Your breasts make me want to stand up and bawl for buttermilk. Later, at the hospital. Mr. Paxton, wake up.
Did you eat any of the PCP spiked clam chowder from the set of Titanic, and did they ever catch the person responsible?
Yeah, that's kind of a crazy story. I remember I shot the first couple weeks of Titanic. What Jim did, he had me and Gloria Stewart and Susie Amos. We were all up in Halifax, Nova Scotia. We were shooting on the Keldysh, which is the Russian research vessel that had the 2 Mir subs that Jim had taken down to Titanic to shoot some footage that he used in the film. While we were shooting that, they were building the big set down in Rosarita Beach. One night, we were shooting splits. We would go in around 5 o'clock, and so we would take our dinner at midnight, and then we'd work till dawn. And I didn't care for the caterer much, so I was ordering my meals in, but I was having a good conversation with Jim Cameron on the set. And I said, Jim, are you going to eat off the truck tonight? He said, yeah. I said, well, I'll join you. So we ladled up the clam chowder, not knowing it was laced with PCP. And I don't know who did it or why, but I remember going back to my trailer after lunch, and Jim went up to his office, and I heard a commotion, and I opened up my door, and I saw a couple of ambulances pulling in, and then an AD ran up and said, are you feeling okay? And I was like, well, I think I'm shooting all night. I'm feeling about as good as you can feel. And he said, well, did you eat the clam chowder? And I thought, well, yeah, I had a couple of bowls. And about that time, I started feeling it. Now I'm starting to witness some bizarre behavior with the crew and stuff. and they take us very close by. We were on the Dartmouth side of Halifax Bay. And so all of a sudden, here's 150 crew members stumbling into the emergency room of a very small hospital at 1 o'clock in the morning. You see some people are freaking out, some people are Congo dancing, some people are euphoric. I knew I was pretty stoned on something pretty bad, and I thought, me and Jim thought that there was a neurotoxin in the clams. We didn't know what it was. We thought maybe the clams had been left out in the sun or whatever. But I figured, while they examined all these other 100 people, I said to Jim, Jim, I'm not going to hang out here. This is bedlam. I'm going to wander, because it was only a few blocks from the set. I'm going to wander back down and just drink a case of beer, which is what I did. And, that seemed to help me.